think we should be live. I know we're a minute early, so I'm sure people will start rolling in here. And this is AI Book Club. Hopefully you're in the right place if you're joining in. And I'll say hello in the chat if you're already here watching or listening. And if you have been here before, well, I'll go over kind of the format a little bit again as more people are joining in. But if you do want to join the live stream, I'll probably mention this several times. You can feel free to message me and I can send you a link. So later on, if you want to come in, you don't have to turn your video on. You can do just audio if you want. You can come and join the actual live stream here. Otherwise, people tend to talk in the chat a lot, which is awesome. A little bit more, I think, than when we used to do the audio format. So that's pretty cool. And we'll wait a minute since it just turned 1 p.m. my time now, Pacific time. And people usually kind of roll in. And if you're already tuned in, maybe put in the chat where you're listening or watching from. That's always fun to hear. But also you could put a little bit about, did you read this book? Was it interesting? Or maybe if you didn't read it yet, maybe what you think is interesting about agents or why you're interested in learning more about AI agents. So again, we'll wait a couple minutes for people to roll in. But again, say hello in the chat. I don't see anyone yet. I'm going to, while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I am streaming in the right places. I should be. Usually we see some people in the chat. I see people are here. Awesome. No one's talking yet. Again, this is a AI book club. So if you've been here before, you might know the format. This isn't I have a slide show here thing, a slide deck here with some of the chapters and stuff. But this is more of a casual discussion around the book. Usually we have people join in the stream, people to talk in the chat about kind of the topics. So since it's been a couple minutes, awesome. Someone said, tuning in from Louisville. Welcome. And thank you for saying hello in the chat. And again, I'll bring this up a couple times, but people really like talking in the chat, and that's awesome. You can do live discussion there, but also, and I'm watching it, so if there's anything interesting, I can try to bring in those questions to the stream. But I'll mention this again several times. If you want to come join the stream, feel free to message me. And if you're also very active in the chat, I might message you with a stream link, and that way you can come and join here. A couple of people have asked, could I have just the link public? Unfortunately, when we do that, then like I've done this in the past with some book clubs, and people do kind of like Zoom bombing stuff. So unfortunately, right now, I'm going to have it where you may. Testing. Hello, am I here? Sidge, I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I don't. I guess I've used StreamYard a lot. Hopefully, we're not gonna have this issue again like last time. I've even done testing in between, and it was totally fine. But I don't know, maybe it's bringing in more people or something like that. I'm not sure what's going on. But
Yeah.
hopefully that was the blip for this episode. Otherwise, if it does happen a lot, like last time I kept dropping, that does happen, then I will look at other platforms. So if anyone has, yeah, okay, I see people said they can't hear me. If anyone has other streaming platform recommendations, let me know as well. But hopefully that will be the kind of blip that we have here. I know last time I kept dropping. So I saw people were rolling in the chat. We were catching up. I don't know where I dropped off. So I was just saying, people talk in the chat. It's awesome. If you want to come join the live stream, message me as well. And if you're active in the chat, I'll probably send you a message and you can come join the stream here. And you don't have to turn on your video camera either if you just want to be audio only. And we have back with us Sij, who's always here and brings a lot to the conversation. Welcome back, Sij. How was your month?
Hi, Sage. Yeah, pretty good. How was yours? Go on any
It was good.
conference lately?
I don't think I did. Oh, well, I did go to Bio IT World in early April, so it felt like a month ago. That was really fun. It's like an all bio and care conference, so it was kind of cool seeing a lot of tools there. And I got to go visit some users of our like open source to see their robots in a bio lab, which was really cool. So that was awesome. That was like the big highlight. And also the lobster rolls. It was in Boston, so I ate a lot of lobster rolls as well. Cool. And I'll just get into the chapter format real quick. Or first, I guess, sorry, me dropping kind of threw me off. I feel like I was in a roll and then I dropped off, and now I'm all flustered. The schedule so far, if you've been here before, you might have read some of these books with us already. We had January, we read Building LMs for Production. I still really like that book. It's one of my favorites, I think, that we've read recently. And then in February was RAG-driven generative AI. And then last month we read AI engineering. And then this month is AI agents in action. Next month we have scheduled hands-on APIs for AI and data science. It looks cool. Again, I haven't read all these yet, or besides the ones from the past months. But it looks cool about building APIs for data science. So like, when you want to host a model, how do you interact with it? And then June, I just posted the 100-page language models book. This looks like a more condensed version of the one we read in December, a little bit of really kind of behind the scenes how LMs work, and you implement them in PyTorch, I believe, just from skimming it. And then in July, we have reinforcement learning for finance. I didn't post this one yet, but I know, Sij, I think you were excited about this one. I know, I think several people are excited for something with reinforcement learning that seemed like a good practical book on it, potentially. And then there's another agent book I just found this week that looks really promising and a little bit more up to date, maybe, than the one we're discussing today, which is Building Agentic AI Systems. And it looks like they use like Crew AI throughout it when I was peeking at the code. So I'd be excited to dive into that one too. And if you have any book recommendations that you want to read, let us know in the chat here. Or if you join the Slack channel in the comments too, you can do kind of async discussions there. And if you want to recommend books there, let me know, because we'll be booking out the rest of the year. And there's a lot of other ones that sound really good. Some aren't fully out yet. That's why they're not scheduled, because they'll say they're going to release in August, but then it's not until October or something. So I don't want to put them up until they're actually out. Already discussed the format, and I'll bring up the slide with kind of the chapter recap, and then we can kind of discuss this, discuss it in the chat. Hopefully not everyone dropped off when I dropped. And again, if you want to come join the stream, and hopefully it won't cause me to drop off when you do that, we'll find out. You can discuss with audio or video on. But I can go ahead and read the chapter names out loud. But first, I'll open up to Sij real quick. I'm not sure if you read the book. Not everyone always has time to read the book, and if you have opinions on it.
Yeah, sure. I did read the book. I didn't run any of the code though. But I read the book. I thought it was a pretty cool sort of like introduction to agents. Like you said, it's not really up to date with, but it is pretty. It is pretty cool. Also, they did touch on Crew AI as well, I think, in one of the later chapters. But I liked it. I enjoyed it. I think it's like the first book in a few months that I've really read, like cover to cover. So it was cool. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked it too. Like you'd mentioned, I don't know how you write a book right now in agents without it getting outdated pretty fast. Like in a few months, like takes months to write a book, and then by the time it comes out, I'm sure there's new stuff all over the place. All the concepts I thought in here were still really good and relevant. 2 other frameworks you would be using. And like you mentioned, they do use Crew in 1 or 2 of the chapters. They bring it up, Crew AI. It seems like the book originally, and if you go look at the name of the GitHub repo, it's called something like Building GPT Assistants or Agents. And it visits all the concepts of agents. Originally, I'm not sure if it was going to be just around building like GPT, like agents in the GPT platform, like OpenAI's platform. And then they kind of added these other tools and stuff getting you out of that platform is kind of what it felt like to me. And they also use a semantic kernel, which is Microsoft's kind of maybe equivalent to like LangChain or something like that. That seems pretty interesting. I'd been wanting to see that in action for a while too. So that was pretty cool. And then real quick, I'm going to make sure because I don't see a chat message from the last 6 minutes. I'm going to see if we're missing those in our stream now or not. I mean, anyone in the chat, let us know if you read the book and if you had thoughts on it as well. And then maybe we can kind of dive deeper into some of the chapters, which again, I guess I'll read aloud real quick. Chapter 1 was Introduction to Agents and Their World. Chapter 2 was Harnessing the Power of Large Language Models. 3, Engaging GPT Assistants. I actually kind of forgot that you could go build GPT assistants like in the Chat GPT interface. I forgot that was like a thing.
Yeah, same here. And I also agree with what you said before, that it felt a lot like like the GPTs with the OpenAI. Like it felt like that was the direction they were going at first. But yeah, I agree.
I'm not going to refresh the tab that I'm running this from. Oh, wait. Okay. I think I see new comments coming in. Sorry, everyone. I think there was a delay. I see someone said hi. Awesome. Cool. So we are still getting comments in this stream. So if anyone who is tuned in has thoughts on this, let us know. Yeah, so I forgot you could do that. And actually, I thought it was also a really good introduction. Like if you were, I don't know, not as familiar with playing around with frameworks or something like that, and you want to build your own agent, actually made it kind of easy, like how you can upload different data sources and define actions and stuff kind of in the OpenAI. I thought it was pretty cool. And then I quickly skimmed through like the GPT storefront or whatever it's called, and there's so many in there. Like I want to go play around and see if they actually enhance using OpenAI. Like there's one from Khan Academy and there's one specifically for Python, so I assume they have like the docs connected or something like that to it, and I haven't played around with it. I'm not sure if anyone else has played around with specific GPTs. Let me know, like are they way better than using just the OpenAI chat? And I mean, obviously it's going to have all the prompt in there. So yeah, I'm curious if anyone has experience using that. I kind of forgot they were a thing.
So the only one I have used is the Crew AI GPT actually. So I was playing around with Crew AI. So they have a GPT which helps you. So it's sort of like been fine-tuned, or maybe it's RAG, I don't know, with like the Crew AI documentation. So yeah, that was cool. That's my one and only.
Awesome. Yeah, I think at Union, I think we had made one at some point too. And then I think we end up using Run LM or something like that, maybe for actually in production. I'm not sure. I can keep going down the chapter list, and then I have a little bit more of like the sub chapters listed out in other slides too. 4 was exploring multi-agent systems. I think that might be where they introduce Crew and semantic kernel, because they make it easier to work with multiple agents, kind of talking and collaborating with each other. Then 5 was empowering agents with actions, building autonomous assistants, and then we had assembling and using the agent platform. That was him kind of making his own little platform called Nexus, which is also open source on GitHub. I thought that was interesting, just because of the fact it's kind of something I want to maybe do, like make an interface and use some of these other libraries to, I don't know, kind of debug and work with agents easier maybe. Someone said that chapters 1 and 2 are available on the Manning site for free. Awesome. Yeah, if anyone hasn't read this book yet and they want to, kind of after hearing the discussion, I linked in the comments, and it should be in the description as well, but there's a link to the book. So if you want to explore it or buy it or potentially rent it or something like that, I'm not sure all the options. Definitely go check it out. And then chapter 8 was understanding agent memory and knowledge. That was like kind of a intro to RAG again, with some other maybe specific concepts, maybe a little bit more native to agents. 9 was mastering agent prompts with prompt flow. Prompt flow was a tool I never used before, but it was open source. It's like Microsoft's open source prompt debugging, and kind of gives you like a UI around what your prompts look like. And then 10 was agent reasoning and evaluation. And then and that had a lot of I think that was in this chapter, not the prompt chapter, maybe a mix of both, but a lot with like chain of thought prompting and getting your models to have reasoning capabilities. I think it was discussed a lot with prompting in here. I think this was written before like DeepSeek came out and kind of changed how people think about that. But they also even mention in the book that they see that coming. So they called it out. They said more and more models are going to have this kind of built in. Yeah, they definitely kind of knew what they were talking about there. And I thought that was pretty fun. It was also fun. They had a example of where it was like 04 would fail, a little reasoning thing. And then if you gave it to 10, I always forget the naming conventions of OpenAI models, and I know I'm not the only one, but their reasoning model, it would still fail. But I actually put the same quiz in there into 3.0, whatever the version is now, 03, the reasoning 3 model. And it actually got it right. So they improved even from this, when this book came out, to the reasoning model in ChatGPT. I thought was pretty interesting. And then chapter 11 was agent planning and feedback. So any chapters were people's favorite, or any stand out right now if you didn't read the book that you think sound the most interesting?
I like the multi-agent one. I think that was also where Crew AI was introduced, right? If
I think
remember.
so. Yeah, because it was the one. I had a little summary here. So that was the one. Uses AutoGen, which I'd never used before. I know I had looked at it. That's Microsoft's open source. I kind of like a Crew AI, but different. I think like it's like their version of an earlier agent platform, and I haven't looked to see how updated it is. This book used AutoGen. I haven't seen anyone use it in a while, so if anyone has in the chat, let me know. Or if you've been looking at it for agent platforms, or if you use it and you really like it, or you didn't like it, that's always fun to hear about. And yeah, I agree. I like the Crew spot as well. I bolded it here because I thought it was interesting. Seeing it in action. I haven't actually used Crew. I think I ran like a Hello World kind of Crew example a while ago, but I am evaluating some more frameworks right now, and it seems like one of the more interesting and widely used one. And actually, that's a good question for anyone in the chat. Have you used any agent frameworks that you've enjoyed? And while people are potentially answering that, I'm going to go to a different tab and refresh. Hopefully it doesn't make me disappear, but I'm just going to reload the LinkedIn live stream in another tab just to make sure I'm not missing questions. But I do disappear for a second, Sige. You can hold down the fort for a minute.
Okay. You're still here.
Awesome. It didn't give me the boot this time. That's great. I just want to make sure that we were still streaming. Yeah, have you used any agent frameworks that you've liked yet, Sige?
Yes, I used Crew AI. I liked it. I played around with it a few months back. But over the last month, I've been experimenting with agents a bit, but not using frameworks. So just sort of trying to implement it from scratch myself, right? Just to get a bit of a peek, under the hood. So yeah, but I'd say Crew AI. I saw the AutoGen course with deep learning AI, but I never used it. So they have a short course on that as well. Yeah, but I'd say Crew AI would be probably, it's much more geared towards industrial use, right? Like you actually want to do something and put it in production or something for work, or so. Yeah, I'd say Crew AI.
Cool. And I see in the chat, I think quite a few people mentioned LangChain. Oh, someone says they use LangChain, but often they end up dropping their component and rolling out their own instead. I feel like that's a common thing that we hear. But it's also like LangChain's great for getting started and building out like kind of the proof of concept, and then maybe build out your own component. Then also, I haven't used it a lot yet, but LangGraph I think I've heard is a little, I don't know, less. I don't know what the word I'm looking for. A little less heavy abstraction on everything, maybe. I haven't used it yet, but I probably will later this week. I've been going through the Hugging Face agent course a little bit in the last month. And the first one is all conceptual. And then the second one that I'm going through right now, module, is using frameworks. And they show small agents, which is their own agentic framework. That's the one I've probably used the most so far. I kind of like it, but I haven't fully compared with all the other frameworks. And then they go into Llama Index. That's the module I'm on now. And then they have a LangGraph module. So you kind of get an introduction to 3 different agentic frameworks. And they kind of, I think, as you go through, again, I haven't gone through all of them yet, but they, I think, try to call out the strengths and maybe weaknesses of each framework. Small agents is interesting too, because it's I think by default, every agent is a code agent. So it tries to write a lot of code to figure stuff out. And that's been really fun. I hadn't worked with code agents like that before, and at least in my experience, and I'm using like a Quinn something model on Hugging Face, so this might work better with a bigger model. They go off the rails, or at least in my experience. Like, I'm sure it's a common thing, but like when you're doing when it's doing code gen 2, like it'll just start doing all like it'll start doing all sorts of weird stuff, trying to figure a problem out. Even though in the prompt, like I've been trying to ask it not to go off the rails and only use this to figure something out in code, and so far my experience, which is very limited, it's just been interesting, like how to rein in a code agent. And even in this book, they talk about when you're using code agents or anything that can execute stuff, you should probably have it in a separate environment in case it's running weird code or deleting files or anything like that. So I think that's probably a really good best practice. And I saw in the chat quite a few people said they used AutoGen, or they've used it in the past, and it was great, and they haven't used it in a while. Yeah, I think I've seen several people say they use AutoGen. Somebody asked, what is the best for non-technical folks? I'm just getting started and playing around. Tried NAN, which was okay, but need more time with it. NAN, I haven't used it, but I know that's come up quite a bit, where I think people say that's kind of like the visual, I think it's like a visual prompt flow kind of Zapier type thing, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, and I see Sid already responded in the chat. Said NAN is probably the strongest for no code. Art, you're already on it.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. I liked it, and they just raised recently or something, so we can expect
awesome
more things from them.
Someone also said that they were digging around with Quinn 3, which Quinn 3 just came out yesterday, if you didn't see, or I think it was yesterday. And they can run an 8 billion parameter one locally, and it's really fast. That's the Quinn 3 model is on my list to check out and play around again with, even as using my agent kind of backbone LM. I think Quinn 3 I'm gonna poke around and see. Also, I'll mention this again since more people might be here. If you do want to come in and join the stream and kind of do the discussion here, let me know and I can send you an invite link. Otherwise, you're also still welcome to just keep chatting in the live chat as well.
Speaking of tools,
go.
No, sorry. I just remembered that I actually discovered agent ops on this book. I didn't know about it before, but I've been going through it, and it looks pretty cool, right? For like seeing what's happening and seeing, because like implementing the agents by myself, you have to put a lot of log statements everywhere, right? And it's pretty easy to like miss those. So yeah, that's something I'm really looking forward to explore.
Yeah, agent ops seemed cool. It seemed yeah, kind of like a I don't know if minimal is the right word, but like it's not doing anything super crazy like some of the other observability platforms like Arise and stuff. It seems more minimal of like seeing token usage and logs and potential cost, I think, for your LM calls to do actions. So I thought it was cool. It looked cool too. I hadn't heard of it before either, but it looks like potentially a really good, again, maybe minimal isn't the right word. I haven't used it yet either, but a little bit of a, and it seems like a good starting point for observability in your agents or LMs. Another tool that I hadn't actually used before, I definitely heard of it quite a bit, was LM Studio, and I actually did download it when I was going through the book. I'm not sure if you've used that before. LM Studio is trying to think if I had it in here somewhere. Yeah, oh yeah, I did highlight it. So it's a way for you to, one, you get like a chat interface, and then you can download open source models into it and then have it run locally. It's kind of like Olama if you've used it before, but actually has a really nice built-in interface to it. So I'm actually probably going to use it, unless I'd love to hear other recommendations people have too. But I'm actually probably going to use it as like the thing I put on my laptop. And if I'm on an airplane or I don't have good internet connection, it's going to be what I use to query LLMs locally. The other cool thing about it is then you can host that local LM through an API or like a local host URL. So if you're doing development and want to test stuff out locally, it can do that as well. But it also gives you that good interface, so it feels like you have, a local version of ChatGPT, which is kind of cool. But you can um, download DeepSeek. You can do like Gemma. You can do 1 billion parameter Gemma. So it's also kind of a cool way having an interface to test models out quickly. I liked it. Oh, it's cool.
Oh wow! So does it work with like any model? Because in the case of Olama, they have to adapt that specific model, so it doesn't support every model. So do they also have a specific set of models they support? Or?
I'm not quite sure. It seemed like most of them were in there. I'd have to double check, or someone else who's used it can let me know. David said, LM Studio is amazing, makes running AI locally really easy, fast, great for beginners. So David, if you've used it a lot, because it had a list of models, so I assume they might do some sort of pre-step or something to get it hosted on, but I'm actually not quite sure. Like, at least out of the box, they make it easy for you to see kind of open source models you can download, but you might be able to download any model and host it through there. I'm not quite sure if you can like just point it at the local path. I haven't tried that, but I thought it was really cool. And like out of this book, that was a tool where like all the concepts were great, but this is the tool that really stood out to me of being like, oh, I'm actually probably going to use this and might have changed, how I approach development, which is really cool.
I'm downloading.
David said, yes. Perfect. David said, yes, it will tell you which models will work for your computer, and your Mac will even show mixed models that are capable with Mac GPU offload. Oh, that's cool. I actually haven't put on my work computer yet, which is a Mac. I was using it on Windows at home the other day. And someone to say, not all of the models are supported that they found, but there are a lot. And you have put a Hugging Face phase URI to get models from I'm not sure which HP Hugging Face Hub maybe. But it sounds like you might be able to put a URL to a Hugging Face hub and maybe pull it down as well. But yeah, I forgot that as part of it too, like David mentioned, it actually tries to tell you what models will or won't work on your local environment, which is also super convenient. I was running it on a GPU gaming rig, so I didn't see, like, it just had everything highlighted that I could run. But I'd be excited to try running it on my more minimal laptops and see which ones it recommends.
Yeah, I see that now on the website as well. It has a model catalog where they listed out, and also they've sort of so on the ones that support GGUF and MLX. So those are the models optimized in some form to make them run on lower end GPUs. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that was I think that was my favorite tool that I found during this. I was going to mention, if people aren't familiar with agents, which I assume maybe it's, maybe everyone is, maybe everyone isn't. I don't know. The kind of like agent components are kind of interesting. Just seeing worded out packaged in this way is like you have your profile or persona, and then you have actions and tools. You might have your knowledge and memory, and then potentially reasoning and evaluation, and then kind of planning and feedback. And that's kind of how they broke it down in this book. And then they went through all those kind of things in separate chapters. Also in the chat, if you want to share, have you built an agent that does something interesting? And maybe if you ran into any challenges or highlights that you'd want to bring up, that's always interesting too. Ooh, Aubrey asked, anyone use DSPy to build agents? I haven't yet, but that's another tool that's been on my list to check out more. The infinite list. Pydantic AI also seems cool. I think that from what I gathered, that seemed maybe more similar to DSPy, but I could be wrong. Actually, yeah, is DSPy, I feel like I remember them in the context of kind of formatting outputs from LMs. But that was also Pydantic, and Pydantic also has kind of a framework now, I think, that people are talking about building agents in.
Yeah.
So if anyone in the chat has built with DSPy, let Aubrey know for sure.
Yeah, but I might be mistaken because I haven't really played around with small agent. But my understanding was that they did something like, so with the DSPy, again, I haven't used that, so I don't really know. So like instead of using like JSON or like the pedantic format, they sort of structure it as code because they feel like the LLM can handle that better. So my understanding, I think I read somewhere, is that small agent sort of does that natively as well, right? That it also sort of does that output in like code format.
That makes sense. Yeah. I'd have to look at DSPy too, I guess, to fully compare. But yeah, the small agents does the formatting. Like when you're doing an input, you use like a pretty extensive doc string for it, and then you can pass in, at least from using the code agents, and then you can pass in some code as well, and then the output you get, depending on how you ask it, I guess, but the output kind of has a specific format to it as well. One of my favorite things, and this is going to sound really simple, but using small agents, it was one of those really cool, like, it's like the first time you print hello world and you go, oh, that's so cool, I wrote a program. That's how I felt with this. Was I use small agents to literally write hello world, but it wrote it in code and then it saved it as a .py file, and then it ran the .py file. And I thought that was really cool because it was like it wrote a code file and then it ran it and did that task fully through there, which I thought was really cool. Because the thing I was kind of working on is building an agent to create some workflows with declarative infrastructure, and then try to run those ML workflows with that declared infrastructure, which I think is a really cool idea. Like I was saying, it kind of was going off the rails when I was messing around with it. But yeah, that hello world and running a .py file, that felt like the print hello world for me was really cool, but of the agent world.
Nice. So I was going to ask you actually if you're building any fun things on agents, but yeah, I guess that's what.
There's a couple things I want to build on agents. That is one that I'm really just fiddling around with. I think I've spent maybe a total of like 4 hours or something like that, 6 hours messing around with it. And part of that was just to get familiar with the small agents library. And then I might go try to do this with the Llama index, and then maybe the Lang graph, and then maybe DSPy. I'm not sure. But having a code agent seems like the right move here. Basically, I want to write an agent that can, like I mentioned, use tools that do like declarative infrastructure in Python, and then spin up a container and run that code there. And it kind of gets two pieces, like we had mentioned, is that you should probably be running code in a isolated environment. So automatically, if you do that in a container, that already does that. Then another piece is if you can have it figure out kind of what compute resources it needs, and it can spin up that compute and then run in there. Like, I think that'd be really, really cool. Like, does it need a GPU for this task? Yes or no? Does it need, a lot of memory or a small amount of memory? Spin up a container with that and then run something and then be able to spin it down, which would be really cool.
Nice.
Jay said, I thought it was interesting. They mentioned giving a personality to the agent to emulate as particularly helpful. I haven't tried yet, but curious how much that helps. I think you always have to ask your agent to be a helpful assistant versus an unhelpful one. I don't know. I mean, I think the prompting often has a pretty big effect on it. I'm not sure how much saying specifically being helpful versus if you didn't define that, just because I'm guessing a lot of the LMs are instruction fine-tuned to be helpful anyway, is my guess. But it really might depend on the LM, which they also talk about, choosing the right LM for the task is interesting too. And not every single one is trained to be a helpful assistant, or actually, I think they mentioned here too, where, not every LM is trained to even call tools or functions. So a lot of the bigger ones like GPT and Claude, I'm sure are. But if you're using some smaller ones from Hugging Face or something like that, they might not be super useful or super used to like calling specific tools or actions that you give it. And I actually know that Hugging Face, in their agent course as a bonus material, they have a section on fine-tuning LMs for function calling specifically. So if you are using Gemma, probably is, I don't know, I'm just making one up here. If you're using like a small model like Gemma and it can't call your functions correctly or accurately, you might fine-tune it in order to do that. Oh, they mentioned Nate Silver specifically for data analysis. Nate Silver is the author, I think, right, of one of the data books.
I know he does it does a lot of political predictions, doesn't he?
Yes. Yeah. And I think Jay is referring to, in one of the prompts, they say, like, you are Nate Silver or something like that. And if the LM has that data, like OpenAI is trained on so much data, it knows who Nate Silver is and can adjust its behavior to probably reply a little bit more like him.
Nice. I have a quick question. How does the small agent, how does that call tools? Do you know?
There's let's see. Like, you mean how do you define the?
Yeah.
Let me see. I could actually probably bring up real quick.
Nice.
Since we have screen sharing here. Yeah, and also anyone else in the chat, if you want to join the stream, let me know. And then also, if you have any other chapters or anything specific in the book or that just sounds interesting, keep letting us know in the chat too. I'm loving the discussion that's happening in there. It's awesome. And if people don't mind, we can take a quick little tangent into Hugging Face, if everyone's okay with that. I'm guessing people are. I feel like most people here are probably excited to learn about agents and agent frameworks. Small Agents wasn't in the book, but it is a pretty cool looking framework. Like I mentioned, it's the one I've been messing around with the most right now. So I'm not sure specifically what you were looking for, Sige, but like defining a tool is probably similar to Crew. I think they also just use a @tool decorator, and then you define it, In this case, this is a tool that's just like a Python function. Usually you want to add a pretty comprehensive doc string, just like any other agentic framework so far. And then you want to see, I think, actually calling it. When you define an agent, you see where they're actually calling it. You pass in. Okay, so here's like how you pass in the tool to your agent too. Is you basically give it a list of tools, and these can be tools that you create, or there's also built-in web tools like search and stuff built in. And then I think from there, kind of it has this list of tools that it can call, and then you can add in like into the prompt of what tools you want it to use.
Oh, nice.
I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for.
No, yeah, it is. I just wanted to compare it to. So I've been playing around with the MCP, which is also what it does, right? You just define the functions yourself, and then it lists the tools with the. So it uses like the doc string, to like figure out what the tool does, and then it uses the input, the input to the function and the output to sort of understand how it should call the function. So yeah, it does exactly the same thing. Cool.
Yeah, so MCP.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, how it's been working with MCP?
So yeah, I just thought that maybe what they have there is just like maybe documentation to call the tool, right? Like the API documentation, and then it has to generate the code to call the API. But this is also what MCP does. It's exactly the same.
Awesome. Yeah, but now with MCP, it's like you can connect to someone else's MCP server, and they have the information of how to use their tools, right? It's kind of the idea of having the standard protocol, model context protocol.
Yeah. So the server is just the tool definition, pretty much, just the function that defines the tool, and yeah.
That was one thing. This book was written before I think MCP even came out at all, but definitely before it got big. So MCP I don't think was in the book at all. And then also there's the new one I haven't used yet or looked into nearly as much, which is the agent to agent, which is Google's protocol. Have you looked into that yet?
I haven't.
Has anyone in the chat looked into it? I've heard some people when I've asked them in person at some events that they like it better. I don't know why, so don't ask me why. And also, I don't think they even extensively used it yet, though. So I don't know. MCP seems pretty good. I don't know if we need another one, but I also haven't used MCP super extensively either. So I haven't really experienced like shortcomings from it potentially.
Yeah. So actually, funny enough, the reason why I asked what this looked like was because you mentioned the fine-tuning a model for function calling. So I just thought if all we're doing is just giving the model the list of the tools and also letting them know what the tool does and how to call it, then why are we fine? So I thought it was much more complex, and that's why we have to fine-tune it. But I guess, but yeah, so like even in my experiments, right, where everything is fully defined, the language model could still sometimes call a tool that doesn't exist or get the formatting wrong, right, or add something, add a parameter there that is not necessary. So I suppose fine-tuning for that takes care of that.
I guess so, and also like probably most of the models that we're all playing around with probably, I'm guessing, can do like function calling if we're using pre-trained models. Maybe this is also, I haven't gone through this, so this might also be like if you're not if you're fine-tuning. I haven't gone through this, so I'm sure they talk about I guess like why, like in this, how our function calling capacity is learned by the model and relies less on prompting than other agent techniques.
Yeah.
The agent didn't use the tools. We just provided the list, and we relied on the fact that the model was able to generalize and defining a plan to use those tools. So I guess it's maybe a little bit more on maybe it's like reasoning on how to use tools or something as well. A little bit like if it can't perform a good enough like chain of thought kind of evaluation of what tools to use, maybe this helps with that. Which, by the way, if people are interested, you should totally look at this course. I'll share the link in the chat as well, and I'll share it again in the Slack later too. Someone asked ADK. I'm not sure what that stands for.
Agent Development Kit or something.
Oh, Agent Development Kit. That
Like
sounds right.
Like an
I guess
agent.
I don't know what the question is. Oh, but is that you're saying we should look at ADK probably?
It's part of the whole agent to agent. It's from Google, isn't it? It's part of the whole.
Got it. I will have to take a look at this later too. Agent Development Kit. There's so many cool looking frameworks right now.
Yeah, the world is going all in on agents.
There's only so much time to play around with them all. Has anyone used small agents before? I think I saw someone say, well, someone says Hugging Face is good. We were talking about agents, so I'm not sure if that was around small agents or just them in general, because I mean, Hugging Face does so many awesome things. Outside of agents too, this week they just announced that they're selling their first like open source. You've been LibRobot, which is like the area for some robotic foundation models and some other models, and then they acquired a company called Pollen Robotics, I think it was what they were called, and they're kind of building like cheap open source robots. So I think they're open source and you can like 3D print them, but also they sell them. And they are selling their first one that's like a robot arm with a controller too, so you can, I think, train a robot to do behaviors. Anyway, I thought it was cool because to set something up like that might take a lot of time and resources, and if they have kind of a $100 version that you can start playing around with and build or run like a foundation model. Like I think Physical Intelligence released Pi Zero recently, which is their kind of robotic foundation model that's like an early version for very specific tasks. And I think that's in Hugging Face now, which seems really cool. Let me see if I had anything else cool highlighted in any of the other chapters. Like I mentioned, semantic kernel. I didn't run the semantic kernel code here either, but seems interesting. I'd heard a lot about it last year being, a pretty interesting competitor to something like LangChain. I'm not sure if anyone in the chat has used semantic kernel. If so, I'd love to hear like your experience of using it. They had a library called PyTrees, which I never heard of too. That's kind of creating behavior trees, but without doing a whole bunch of nested if-else statements. That kind of seemed interesting as well. So if you're building a behavior tree for your agent, it seemed like an interesting library for it. I mentioned this earlier, where this chapter seemed interesting about him building his kind of agentic platform, and they use Streamlit for the interface. I've used Streamlit and Gradio. Both are really cool for building your interface. If you haven't checked them out, I would definitely recommend it. I thought this is kind of interesting. In the memory, like a lot of this was kind of RAG stuff that maybe people have read about before. I know we have in other books. The way they broke down some different type of memory augmentation for agents kind of specifically was interesting, or I just hadn't really thought about it that way. They had different memory types. They called semantic. That's kind of like your RAG or searching for data to bring in. That episodic, which is kind of the agent's memory of going through actions, or I think it's like, what has the agent kind of done before? So it's like, what has its journey been so far? Or maybe it was for that initiation. And then they had procedural, which is the tool calling and actions and stuff that it could take. I thought that was just an interesting breakdown. Like I didn't quite think about it like that before, and how structuring your memory in those different ways. I mean, it makes sense that it would help a lot in different use cases, but I like to think about like, the life of my agent, that's its episodic memory. And they mentioned the knowledge compression, which in the RAG book, if you were here in February when we read that went a little bit into this too. And it's still something that I want to dive deeper into, like more resources on, like having the different nodes that have compressed knowledge from multiple documents. And then you can go deeper down into those documents if you wanted to. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. So you have something like that in Corsa as well, right? So when you've been on a chat, and after a while, the sort of degrades when the conversation has been too long. So it sort of compresses that and then allows you to take that into a different chat.
Oh yeah, and David mentioned, I forgot this just came out. The deeplearning.ai, which has a lot of really good other agentic courses or agent courses. Like they have Crew AI, LangGraph. I think they have Llama Index for agents. They at least have Llama Index for some other things. And then you're right, they just came out with a small agents course as well. I would definitely check that out. I forgot that just came out. So thank you for sharing that. David also said ChatGPT's new feature that has memory of all your conversations is amazing. Makes me want to dig deep into RAG. Yeah, I've noticed because it had memory, kind of limited memory before. And I think my responses, I use ChatGPT still as my main kind of LM as for daily use. And yeah, I think my responses have gotten better since they've implemented the full memory for like just kind of knowing probably what I want to do. I don't know if anyone else has that experience or if you think your responses have gotten worse, because I don't know if you query a whole bunch of different stuff, and like I mostly use mine for building tech things, and so it knows the technology I use. But if I was using it as my daily Google search, I could also see it maybe getting weird. I don't know. Chapter 10, I thought was a good refresher too, on the different ways of prompting. And it would blow my mind like a year ago when you'd read about when you just add in chain of thought, how much better the LM performance would be. I think it's like probably changed a little bit now. But before it was like you add that in and it would get like significantly better. And this still might be the case probably in a lot of use cases. And also, like they mentioned, how reasoning right now, when they wrote the book, it wasn't in that many models, but they saw this coming as probably more and more models would probably have that baked in. And now we kind of see everyone has a reasoning model. Trying to think if there's anything else that kind of really stood out to me. Did this make you want to do any new projects, Sidge, or anyone in the chat?
Yeah, so I over the past few weeks, so I've worked on two just small projects, nothing fancy. It was just more about using the tools than actually building anything useful. So one of them is so it's sort of like an image analysis, right? So it looks at an image and then you have a bunch of agents. Some look at it, look at the historical context. Some look at whether they can determine words in there. Some look at the people. One tries to guess the location or whatever. And then so it looks at all of that. Then at the end, it comes up with like a general sort of its belief or its best guess as to what is happening. But what that allowed me to do was so I use drag for a lot of the memory. So if it's in an image before, it sort of hashes the image and it stores it, so it doesn't have to call Gemini again. It stores the sort of like the memory from each of the tool calls. So it stores those. It stores those in a ChromaDB database and vectorizes them. It also stores the general analysis. So I think it falls into what you just discussed about the different types of memory, right?
Yep.
Also allowed me to use the MCP. That was using MCP as well. So that was for so that's for the I also did this one was more for computer use. So this was open up Paint and then draw something on Paint, but that was just for the computer use. So the one I'm working on right now is a comic book generator. So it has to come up with a story, right, and decide what the plot is and all of that, and then it generates the like a comic book. So yeah, but none of those are particularly useful. It's just to play around with the agentic tools.
That sounds. Were you using a Crew? for those?
No. So I know no
Oh, that's
frameworks.
right.
I'm
That's right.
implementing them.
You're building your own functions. That's cool.
Yeah,
How
yeah. So, oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just say how was that versus using like a framework? Do you like it better? Do you feel like I know we've talked about this before, and a lot of other people, like, you might use some LM framework and then you go, why am I using this? And then you go build it on your own, and that felt just as easy or better. Do you kind of feel the same way with agents
No,
so far?
no. Oh, no, not at all. It definitely would have been easier to use Crew AI or something. It was just to see, like, just to see how exactly it works, right? So because all you're doing is you're deciding like the number of iterations, right? So you say 10, and so you run a for loop, and in each of those loops you say, okay, so in the original system prompt you just say, this is what you need to do, this is the plan, these are the tools that you have access to do that, and this is how you can call them, right? So and then you run the loop to say, oh, so what has happened before, how do you pick up from there or something, which I'm guessing Crew AI and the rest of them, they're doing like a much more complex version of that. But that's really all it is. You run a for loop, you look at the prompt before based on the memory and how you're doing it, and then you ask, what's next? What should I do next? What should I do next? What should I do next? And so you have the orchestrator LLM. So yes, I do definitely. So like what I'm um, sort of aiming for is to then go back to, because I feel like I used Crew AI before really understanding like what authentic stuff is. But yeah, ultimately would be using something like Crew AI or other more established. I want to try the small agents next. I signed up for the course as well, but I haven't I haven't gone back to it after the very first I don't know what they're calling it, unit or something.
Yeah, unit module, something like that. Yeah. And the first one, like I mentioned, I'll share links in the Slack channel. I was making notes actually of tools people mentioned. I try to go find all the links and stuff and then share them later in Slack. So if you want to join the Slack, I'll share them there. Maybe I'll share them as a comment in here as well. And then I forget what I was going to say. Oh, the small agents course, the first unit is all kind of theoretical, and I think they made it for people who aren't programmers and just for anyone who kind of wants to understand how agents work. So I think they mentioned, like PMs and stuff like that. It could be a good course for you to take to understand how they work and what people are working on. And then module 2 goes into code and you start implementing stuff in small agents. And then, like I mentioned, Llama Index and LangGraph. And then I haven't done the third module yet, but I think they do more use cases. And I think to get the final certification, you actually have to build something and like submit it or something like that. I haven't done it. But it seems really cool. And then I saw someone share in the chat here. It came up as a LinkedIn user, not your name, but I'll find it on LinkedIn in a second too. They shared Boundary ML's presentation as a link. Boundary ML is really cool. They have a language called BAML. I know I've mentioned this, I feel like, in other book clubs. They're a local company too, so I hear about them all the time, and they host events in their office and stuff like that. I'm actually potentially doing planning a hackathon with them next month, but they have a language called BAML, and you can like define inputs and outputs for your LMs or any application. And I haven't looked at that presentation, but it sounds like they did one on building agent applications, so I'll have to take a look at it. But I recommend other people looking at them, and I'll get that link and I'll share it in the Slack as well. We are kind of nearing the time here. It's been a great conversation. Again, it's fun having everyone in the chat. Like I mentioned, if you want to come join the live stream for the next one too, you're welcome to. Maybe I'll start pinging more regulars the direct link if you want to join in the chat. But I'll just mention next book is going to be hands-on APIs for AI and data science. That's going to be May's read. Looks fun. It looks like there's a lot of code of building APIs to kind of host your models and have people interact with them. So I'm kind of excited to go through that. It's a little bit different than the LM stuff we've been going through every other month of this year, and I feel like a lot of the months of last year. So we're switching it up a little bit to non-full LM book, but then we'll be back to LMs in June, which is the 100-page large language model book. That is a pretty condensed. I haven't read it, but it's like 130 pages or something. But again, this is kind of about how LMs work, and I think implementing them in PyTorch might be a little similar to December. We read building an LM or building LMs from scratch, which was really good. This might be a more condensed version of that or akin to it. And then July, we were planning on reinforcement learning for finance. And then August, I think, will be this building agentic AI systems. And by the way, feel free to start reading these books whenever. These are just when we plan on doing the live discussion. So if you want to start reading like the building agentic AI systems, that's awesome. And if you want to join the Slack channel and the links, you can discuss that async like before the live stream. That'd be really cool too if you want to kind of discuss there more. Sidge, do you have anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, not at all. It's been awesome.
You should also share your projects. So, like,
yeah, sure.
If they're up on GitHub and you want to share them, obviously you don't have to, but it sounds like people said they sound really cool and they want to take a look at them.
Yeah, sure. I'll put it up on Slack.
Awesome. And thank you so much as always for joining the stream. You're the official co-host. It's always a pleasure having you here.
Always. Awesome.
With that, I think we'll wrap up the stream. Yeah. See you next month, Sidge. Thank you so much. Everyone in the chat, also thank you. It's awesome having so many people share cool stuff, experiences in the chat. I will hopefully talk to some of you all next time. I'm going to wrap up the stream. You should go follow Sidge as well on LinkedIn. I'll share his profile in the comment if he doesn't after the stream.
Awesome. Bye.
Right. See you, everyone.